Well, hello. Didn't expect to see you here this evening. I was just up here doing some work, tidying up, straightening out the studio, pulling out boxes here and there. You know, I'm getting ready for the big Halloween weekend coming up tomorrow night. And you know what? I just happen to be going through the closet. And, you know, being it is Halloween, I said, oh, why not? Why? You know, everybody loves it. This guy's had a long enough break. Why not go ahead and plug him in? And y'all know who I'm talking about. Y'all know who I'm speaking of right here. So I went ahead, dusted him off, pulled out the cord, plugged it into the wall. Seemed to be working. Let me go ahead and do this again over here. Plug him back in. Wake up! Wake up, boy! Wake up! Wake up!
Oh
my God, he is here! He lives! He lives! What is going on, sir?
Dares waking me from my eternal slumber! What the hell?
He is here!
Who is you? Who's you, lady?
You just saw me the other day. What's going on,
God,
man?
What is up? What is up? What was that? What was that?
The Sidekick 3000. I am Corey Coleman, and we are here for the don't tell nobody, the Spooktacular Secret Show.
That's right, it's a secret, so shut your goddamn mouth.
Oh, you haven't changed one bit, sir.
I can't change. Have you seen me?
Can't change, won't change.
I can't
Well, you
change,
changed a little bit since last time a lot of people seen you.
I ain't got no change. No nothing. God damn.
You're a little more rectangular. Last time you were a little more spherical.
Yeah, spherical.
You're a little more boxy right now.
You got some crumbs in me, and yeah.
I thought I turned that over yesterday and got that out of you.
No, you didn't. No, living a life of pure agony.
You want to get into a spooky movie of the evening?
Yeah, let's get into a spooky movie. Yeah, shit, spooky movie time.
Let's talk about a spooky movie right now.
What you got?
So, on October 2nd, there was a movie that was released, and everybody was telling me to watch it. And I was not going to bother with this, man, because I already heard some things. But then I got on Rotten Tomatoes, which, you know, Martin and myself are a member of now.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah, I know. I'm beginning to rethink it now that I'm looking at it, because this movie got 80% that we're about to talk about. It's 80% on Rotten Tomatoes. And I said, well, you know what? 80%, it's time for me to give Tales from the Hood 2 a chance. Didn't even know there was a second one, too. Y'all told me about it.
Pardon.
But my man, that's why I said I plugged this thing in last night. Right. I plugged him in so you could watch this with me.
That's right.
After a whole year of being asleep, I plugged you in for what? Tales from the Hood.
Right. 2. And yeah, and I wish you hadn't.
Yeah.
Damn it.
I think it's going to be quite amazing.
Y'all might remember Tales from the Hood 1. And why y'all laughing about Tales from the Hood right here, Tales from the Hood 2.
I remember it fondly. Every time, you know, when people talk about horror anthologies, Creepshow is always like top of my list.
That's the one.
And if someone ever had to say, what would be your number 2, immediately my head always goes to Tales from the Crypt.
Okay,
sorry.
You had me there.
I'm sorry. Tales from the Hood. That's what I meant to say.
I meant you meant to say Tales from the Crypt with black people.
With black people. Yeah.
Tales of madness. Your most terrifying nightmare. On the streets.
On the streets.
From the streets.
On the streets.
Yeah. That's pretty amazing, especially when you see was it David Allen
Greer.
David Allen Greer in his most, like, I definitely think that is his most terrifying performance I've ever seen him do, where he's being an abusive father.
Oh, he's scary, man. He's scary in this.
Scary as fuck. Like you before Living Color. Like if I didn't know this guy, watching only this, and I would think somebody needs to watch out for this guy. This guy is fucking nuts.
Yeah, where he was an abusive father in this, man. This was actually, it was an effective movie, and Spike Lee wanted to do it because at the time there were all these hood movies coming out.
Right.
And he just kind of almost wanted to do a parody of it, but he still wanted to mean something. And so, that's what this was. This was like a Tales from the Crypt movie, our Tales, our Creepshow. So, and the whole thing had a theme of of black issues are black relevant problems that were going on at the
Relevant
time.
at the times,
At the time that they
Yeah.
were trying to address. One of those being all these hood movies and
Bad cops,
gangsters, and bad cops. Yeah, and just flat out racism. Man, it was actually effective. I love that line too. The dolls want reparations.
Yeah, they want reparations. So they went, Jesus Christ. The dolls. What
fuck them dolls. Let me get
I was
mine.
like, what about the people?
That's the thing with this right here. Tales from the Hood 2. Tales from the Hood 2, man. It's trying to do what the first one did. Sidekick. This one is going in there. You see greed, lust, pride, but when you're looking at those, what they're really talking about are things like racism. They're talking about ignorance of your own culture. Mm-hmm. They're talking about black on black violence. Mm-hmm. They're trying to, like the first one did, they're trying to talk about black issues and problems that are relevant to today and trying to address them in sort of an entertaining way while also saying, and which is what I thought was clever about the first one. And this one is also saying, okay, while this is a horror movie, what is this? Is this scarier than real life?
Right.
Which one is more horrifying?
Yeah.
The supernatural, that ass whooping of them bullets you get from the cops.
Right. It's always interesting now to see horror movies, especially the recent Halloween, where they have to address that. Like, hey, these crimes, they're not that big of a deal.
Yeah, dude murdered 5 people.
Yeah, real life horror is more terrifying than anything that you could ever show me in a movie these days.
Yeah. And you know what? And I always thought that's what was clever about this at least the first one. Mm-hmm. But that's about as far as that goes.
Yeah. The idea was great.
Now
the execution.
Thank you for your good intentions.
The execution felt like our execution. Watching this shit, I mean, I was utterly appalled.
I couldn't believe what. Let me tell y'all something from the very first frame, and my man over here can attest to this sidekick.
Yes,
I should have known something was wrong from the very beginning when they were just throwing images together. When you got into the credits, I should have known. We saw them skeletons, man, like flaming, like that flaming skeleton for no reason. The flaming skeleton wearing shades and with gold teeth.
This is the shit that you get at the spirit store. Those videos that they get you to like have holograms on your window and shit like that. So cheaply made. That's what it looked like.
Like this shit. Look at this. That makes no sense. It's like it's skeletons, and I like the way they like made sure that they put shades and gold teeth on them so that that skeleton was black before he died.
Right, and they got like the leftover effects from the Puff Daddy movies, videos from the 90s.
I mean, he looked like a real person on fire. He don't know where the fuck he going. Did you see him shaking his head? He's just look at this. That skeleton shaking his head. He's like, man, I don't know what the fuck this means.
Yeah, that's what they did to Tales from the Hood. That's what they set it on fire. That's a great representation of what to expect.
That is telling you everything you need to know right there, because it's telling you, first of all, how cheap the movie's probably going to look, and it's also letting you know that it is very thrown together. This thing here,
sadly taped. It's all just a mess.
You know what I what I really liked about this was that at the beginning, this is called Tales from the Hood. And none of this shit has anything to do with the hood. Man.
Yeah, I know.
Like nothing tells.
That's what I said. I was like, "There's no goddamn hood in this."
Yeah, Tales from the Hood. We ain't in the hood when we start out, man.
I mean, it's the worst thing. Like as soon as this movie starts and you see the first actual shot, once the bad Into the Mind's Eye special effects from that VHS tape that was showing off goddamn special effects for the first time. Once it gets in the movie, the first shot you get is like in the goddamn springtime out in the field where the grass is greener than fuck, and you're just like, this is how you start a horror movie?
Yeah.
In the springtime? It's with the Easter Bunny you see the Easter Bunny in the background handing out Easter eggs, rainbows and shit. I'm like, what is this? It does not set the mood. Atmosphere is gone.
The middle of the day, just as bright and cheery, and this shit is not in the hood. They talking about Tales from the Hood. When we start out.
Yeah, it's Tales from the Field.
It's even worse than that. It's Tales from a corporate science lab,
right?
A tech lab with where it's not even a lab. It's a tent where they have that paint tar from Home Depot.
It's a thrown together goddamn tent, and you can even see the Velcro straps. Like that's the shit that you see like at ACL when they're selling you beer. Like they got one of those beer tents out there, and along with that they have like roadie cases.
Oh yeah,
roadie cases for
rack
bands.
mounts and shit. Yeah,
just hanging around to
and
make
on
it look
top
busy.
of that. I like the way trying to make it science. Like they've been experimenting and doing some science things, but they got these mannequins from Forever 21 in there.
Yeah,
and it shit makes it makes no sense.
Just hanging around, just trying to give you the illusion of something very important, something very scientific going on here.
And and it's like the first one. It tries to have the tales from the crypt with the black moral twist to it, by touching on, like I said, the relevant issues of today. But you know what? And they're doing that because black people need to have this information out there. If you want to, Saki, I'm gonna call you. I'm gonna sue.
That's all right.
If you really want to help black people, you shouldn't have never released this.
No.
The worst kind of writing is when you're writing terrible material and you can see the writers thinking that they're being so clever.
Right.
At the beginning of this, immediately you're taken into this lab. Introduced this white sleazy corporate guy, and they let you in. And before you meet him, they have his name on some signs, and on the signs it says Dumas Beach. Yeah. And when I saw that, I was like, "Yeah, dumbass bitch. I get it. I get it. Thank you."
Dad joke number one.
Bad joke. That's 5 minutes into the movie.
Yeah.
And they play that shit up near the end like that, like you didn't see that coming at all.
Yeah, it felt like I was like, man, who is this guy writing? Is this guy like 60 years old? Is he so out of touch? Like his brain stopped at the 90s? It blew me away how the only lines that I even remember were recycled lines from the first one. I mean,
welcome to hell, motherfucker.
Welcome to hell, motherfucker. The shit. The shit.
Yes,
where I'm like, you had to get Keith David in here to basically just act like the guy from the first one and deliver the lines the same exact way.
Same exact way.
Just so the people who remember.
Clarence Thomas III.
Clarence Thomas III, who was fucking brilliant.
Yeah.
I think they even attempted to get him. I think they did.
Yeah, it's Keith David having fun, but pretty much doing what Clarence Thomas III did in the first one.
Right. Yeah. Out of everyone, it's hard for me to just go, Keith David was horrible. He was the only one who was really trying to work with the bullshit he got.
Yeah.
And whenever he was saying those lines, it felt like he knew how important those lines were to everyone watching.
Yeah, he's a professional.
So
man.
he didn't want to disappoint with those lines. And boy, did he play it over the top. But it was the only effective, memorable thing about this whole movie that I can remember.
But at least it looks like he's having fun with it.
Right.
This is the story of criminal behavior. Good golly.
I mean, to the point where he's even like looking into the camera and doing this.
Right.
Line.
I mean, you think about every other actor in the world right now would make that so cringeworthy and just embarrassing, to where more than likely they would quit. But this guy, no, he carries it. He carries it so well.
It's funny how he has some of the worst material in here. He's able to make it work.
He really does. That smile, that look.
Because everybody else in this movie, they're giving lines even not as bad as that, and they can't do shit with it.
It's the community acting school in full effect.
Oh yeah, and look, the best thing about this movie is that it's unpredictable.
Yeah,
and what I mean by that, because a lot of people say, "Man, look, I saw all this shit coming," because we did. We watching like, okay, we know what's going to happen here, but at that moment when you actually know what's going to happen and you see it happen, movies like, oh no, we ain't stopping there. Movie actually goes further to do something more stupid than what you expected.
Exactly.
It exceeds low expectations. Low expectations. Low. When I say low expect, low.
Like, yeah, you're gonna be making a slave song out of that.
Swing low, tales from the hood, making some more bullshit. Make me look that.
Gonna carry my bad script home.
My favorite story in here has to be the first one about that doll.
That goddamn gingerbread man.
That black gingerbread man that they had in. I love this one because right from the moment it starts. I mean, this one is the one that seems predictable, but goes in so many what the fuck places in its horrible writing. Yeah. Like from the moment they introduce the story, they introduce it as two girls, and I think it's 4 stories in this. But the first one's about this doll in a black museum of stereotypes and negative stereotypes and caricatures.
Right.
You know, mammies, sambos, pickaninnies, and all those things like that. And these girls drive up, and the first thing they see is this hand-painted sign that they made like 24 hours before called Museum of Negrosity.
Which I was like, really, guys?
What?
Yeah. Like, that'll bring them in.
That's the science of black people, Negrosity.
Yeah. Come and learn your history.
Yeah. Actually, I used to watch that show, the Negrosity Junior High. I think Drake went there. Negrosity.
I think he did. I got all those episodes on VHS.
But man,
my favorite years.
I think Drake played the dog.
That's the model Drake.
Drake in blackface. Nah, man. And so look, that's the frustrating thing about this movie is that they really are laying down some knowledge, man, about black issues and about black history.
Yeah, they are paving the road with it.
They paving the road.
Literally.
Well, they paved the road and took your head and slammed it into it several times.
They brought the steamroller to really drive it home, make sure you know it's there.
Yeah, they buried your body in that road.
I'm like, Christ,
man, because they drive over your ass with these themes.
Waiting for John Henry to hit me over the head with his hammer, watching this goddamn movie. It's like, I get it.
And it's too bad because, like I said, the knowledge is real. The knowledge is important. Yeah. I mean, the things, especially when one of the things that people still don't get about black culture is that a lot of things are not being cast upon us by other people. They are, but we're taking it and absorbing it and still using it.
Oh, yeah.
These images still affect us. And it was something that people needed to hear when you hear the curator tell these of this museum tell these 2 girls about how they've come along so much and been fooled by integration, which integration is great, but they think that now because, we're black and we're white and we're friends, things are cool. And this guy's like, nah, the images are still in
bitch.
there. And it's made, yeah, you remember that? Like, no.
Yeah, that guy, I keep thinking like, they should have hired somebody else for that job because that guy was really fucking angry.
He was mad. Look at him, he's mad right now.
He was like somebody took a shit in his museum. Like when you first meet him, you're like, what the fuck are you doing in here? The sign said open.
It did? Fuck that sign.
Who the fuck who did that?
You did. But yeah, in this he lays it down. It's like, look, y'all are this generation does not get it. Y'all are real ignorant and black and white and everybody in between just don't get it.
Honestly, I don't really see it as race. It's a doll.
It's a tool. An instrument of manipulation that kills the spirit of who we really
are. And I'm about to choke the shit out you, bitch.
I think at the end of the credits, his name was like Angry Black Man.
You'd be like, wait, but which one? No, that one. Yeah. You know when you see it, that one. Right there.
Pissed, yeah.
That dude is pissed. Yeah. You know, and it's so bad because I think that there's some great speeches in there in segments, but then that's when the horror kicks in. Right. You know, that's when the movie shit kicks in.
Right.
And the shit. And it gets so bad. I mean, because it's stuff that you've seen in movies before.
Yeah, nothing
done so much better.
Right.
But I never anticipated how bad it would get in this movie right here. Yeah. Now, we all know that in this movie, looking at it, I'm like, all right, the doll's gonna come to life.
Right.
But when the doll finally does come to life, we were both like, what? Because when the doll comes to life, believe me, you don't expect to see what you get. Mm-hmm. You don't expect that little doll to all of a sudden turn to goddamn Black Gumby, right?
Yeah, right. Yeah, because that's what that thing's designed to do.
Yeah, it was to put there so to
just that guy is so angry
to bite into little black women.
He's so pissed off at the people who visit his goddamn museum. He wants to kill them as soon as they walk out the door.
Yeah. Kill them with his racial stereotypes.
They don't listen. Yeah,
it turns into something that looks like those cheap costumes you hire for a children's birthday party.
Right.
You know, like this is something that you would like bring to your little kids.
Like that's a super discount, something that you just going like, well, hey man, that's like $15. All right, let's get that.
Let's get that for the kids.
Yeah,
you know,
yeah.
Hey kids, you ready for Jigaboo Jimmy?
Yeah, right.
Come on, y'all, have some dignity, man. This is a horror movie. Ain't no way. This is a horror movie. Ain't no way you looking at that and not thinking comedy.
Exactly.
It just keeps going and going to more levels of what the fuck. There's a moment here where I guess the doll actually has a penis or something, dick in it.
Right.
Because there's a point here where we actually see the white girl and the doll hook up. I'm talking, you know, we don't get the graphic scene of them fucking everything, but the
hooks up out of nowhere.
Out of nowhere.
Out of the goddamn blue.
Don't you know I love you?
Yes. Yeah, you all up in that ass.
Yeah, and this is right after her best friend and her brother have been murdered. Like, and I'm talking gruesome deaths.
Yeah.
And she's like, "Oh, you're the only thing I needed. You're the only thing I want." I was like, "What? What? Is there something I missed?" Which this whole segment, the route it goes looks like the biggest thing why it feels so unpredictable is because it was butchered in editing.
Yeah.
Because you can't predict somebody who's not even paying attention what the fuck they're editing.
Oh no, and you know it doesn't help. It doesn't help that things get worse as they go along. I mean, because that's the one where it's like that's the best one for the most shock value. Because that one goes to places that you don't want to go and you never expected to go. Yeah. But the rest of them they go places that are weird but don't make sense. Like story number 2, you got these gangsters who are like pretty much, we said last night, the Black Three Stooges. Right. They try to hire a phony medium to help figure out where the money of their murdered friend is, or the victim is, and who
they're looking for money.
They're looking for money. Who somehow at the last minute, even though he's phony, somehow at the last minute can conjure up dead spirits, but not just dead spirits, the dead spirits of bad stereotypes.
Yeah.
Man, I wasn't fucking nobody else.
Hey, forget about it. You're that moolie that shot me on that vine.
Forget about it, the moolie.
You're looking for that fugazi.
Yeah.
Forget about it. Hey, I'm Italiano.
Hey, you're black, so you're the moolie.
Hey, Godfather.
Hey, it ain't just offensive to like they really are, but some of this shit is just rough. Like
it's embarrassing.
That's offensive and embarrassing to Italians out there.
Watching that segment felt like if you were to ever tell me, like if I didn't know this movie was out, and you were to tell me, hey, did you know they did a Tales from the Hood Part 2? I'd be like, what? And if I were to see this, I would think it happened somewhere between like at least 2 or 3 years after the first Tales from the Hood because of how dated the stereotype of what we just saw, how that all works. Like I could see somebody making that back in the 90s, back when you saw plenty of that type of bullshit. It's just that somebody took that product and needed to just put out a product because of the train that they were riding with the first movie.
And you know what? I mean, you talk about feeling outdated. You hit on a perfect point right there. A lot of this shit feels outdated. They had one story in here. Well, I appreciate them trying to not only stick to black issues, but they're trying to talk about female issues, the Me Too movement,
right?
Things that have to do with that. But the problem is in the third story, you got to follow 2 characters that they're not supposed to be good people, but god damn, they have to look. They stepped out of the early '90s. They look like half of Color Me Bad right here.
Yeah, I know. It's like the worst boy band ever.
Yeah.
The guys who always opened up for the good boy band.
Yeah, like the ones you never heard of.
We do this flick, man. Our band is gonna. We're going to the top after this. It's all beautiful foam.
Yeah, man.
We are rising to the top.
4th story kinda works on a moment, in a way of getting emotion from you, but they're trying to do it in this way where they're let me see if I can find this clip where they're talking about Emmett Till. And if y'all know Emmett Till, that
was the most disappointing.
That was the most disappointing. For one, man, it's cheap trying to get that kind of emotion out of people. You know, right. Emmett Till, we talked about it all the time. He's the guy that whistled at a white woman allegedly and then got beat down by 2 white dudes. And his body at his funeral was left open so that people could see the horror of racism and whatnot. And they play it straight. So cool, you're getting an emotion from people. But man, that's cheap too.
Yeah.
I mean, don't be bringing in that kind of serious thing for this bullshit here.
Into something like this where it felt like okay, I was like, oh, this is getting Tyler Perry serious.
Yeah.
Now, where everything else about it's undercutting the message, and that's with all these stories. It always gets undercut.
If it was good, it might be a different thing. But the movie,
but it's not because all I could think about is like, you know what, there's just so much material out there to really like what you did with the first one. You know, there's so much material that people are realizing, people see now. Obviously, because there's cameras now, so everyone is seeing this shit now.
Yeah.
You're not just hearing it. It's not like a Boys from the Hood. It's like either they don't know or they don't care what's going on in the hood. Well, no, now you're getting a front row seat on the internet of what's really going on.
Yeah.
And you know, the amount of shit that you can springboard stories from, especially into the horror genre, especially like Tales from the Crypt, those comic books you used to do back in the day. There are great writers out there, especially after all the great, black-driven horror films that we've seen recently, that can do the job in spades better than what they attempted to do here.
Yeah, and like I said, man,
all the potential is just like the potential was there. And they just fumbled the ball because all they could think was money signs with the title.
Yeah, exactly.
And throw it on DVD.
Everything is so badly written. Everything is a stereotype. Everything is a stereotype. White people are stereotype. And that segment with Emmett Till, one of the things they bring in there in the modern time segment, they got a guy who's dealing with a old white Southern politician who's, no bullshit, is a combination of Colonel Sanders and Mark Twain.
Right. I keep thinking there's a chicken wing in his pocket there.
Shit, I keep thinking there's a chicken coming out his nose right now. I think chicken wings are coming out his nostrils right now.
Trying to fly out of his head. Exactly. I'm like, oh God, guys.
Yeah, man.
You're really driving it home. Like pick your theme. Like, what do you want to do here? You want to make this funny? You want to make this relevant? You're trying to do both? I mean, you need to have a competent director that can handle those things.
Out of all this stuff that's happening right here, we somehow lead up to a point where that white corporate sleazy guy I'm talking about, all this comes together to end with him running from a walking parking meter, shooting 70s lasers at his ass. You know what I mean?
This looks like some shit out of Jimmy Neutron. Some goddamn guy with a Skittles gun.
This is a horror movie, and this guy's being chased by a cartoon action figure right now. Come on, y'all.
Yeah. It was embarrassing.
And the funny thing is, like, you really have to look at it up close and look at it moving in order to see the impact of how bad it is. And also, that robot, that's the one that delivers the big line of the movie.
All right.
Robo Patriot recognizes dumb ass bitch.
I get it now.
It all comes together.
I put it together.
What do you know?
You meant that
when two become one. I get it.
I thought it was just a sign. I thought it was his name.
But it was the joke that sums up the entire movie.
What a twist.
What? Where's the Oscar? Where's the Oscar nomination?
For best screenplay.
Best screenplay ever. And boy, did they try to fucking ram that in your head, especially with Keep David. That was only the greatest story I've ever told. Every story was better than the last one.
Yeah, every story.
After every horrible thing we watched, like it was highlighted with, yes, that was just one of my great tales. But I have another great tale.
No, you don't. No, you're done. Yeah, you're done.
Stories are superior and great for this dumbass AI that apparently needs these stories for no goddamn reason.
That was the worst. The whole prologue and epilogue was about Keith David, who I'm gonna leave one thing in here that's a non-spoiler. Right. I ain't gonna tell you who he is, but he comes in and they need his fables, his old Negro fables, to tell for this AI to work for some reason.
Yeah, for some, never explain. You don't get it. It's like, wow, it's like somebody threw up a bunch of ideas in the air. Like they got a bucket, just threw some ideas, just threw it on the table. Picked out three of them and work with that. Robot,
exactly.
Getting stories from Keith David. Let's do that. All right.
It makes no goddamn sense,
No
man.
sense.
You know, it's a shame because Rusty Cundieff is the guy. There's a lot of names that have returned for this. Spike Lee's probably has to return because he was executive producer on the first one, so he probably didn't want anything to do with this shit. But he's like, all right, you know what? Got to put my name on there somewhere. He probably, and even if he did, he probably didn't know it was gonna come out this bad. The other thing is that Rusty Cundieff was a guy he's one of those black filmmakers back in the 90s that was coming up who was going to be the guy to look out for because do you remember that movie that he did?
Which one?
It was called Fear of a Black Hat.
We deal with race. I look at people and everybody seems to be the same shade.
You sure it's not the glasses?
Knowing who to count on when push comes to shove.
You know, and I'll be honest with the movie, it's a little outdated.
No, it's definitely outdated, and it makes sense to me. I have this gut feeling, and I would not be shocked if this guy had these stories just like sitting there, like probably after he wrote this, sitting there collecting dust, and when somebody finally said, "Hey, let's go ahead and make a part 2."
Yeah.
Oh, great! Script's already finished, already done. Don't you think you probably need to rewrite it or make it a little? No, it's fine. What topic do you need there? Me Too movement. All right, I'll pencil in something in. But yeah, other than that, no. There's plenty of young writers, young guys who are probably just dying, like gnawing at the bone to get a hold of something like this, to say, have a producer go, I want you to write the next Tales from the Hood movie. Yeah, let's do it.
Yeah.
But no, they didn't do that.
No, well, that's mine. There was this big announcement right there for
Oh, and you know what? Yeah, that
and
makes
this little slave Chucky.
they hoard him out in this movie. Like,
Yeah, that was if you saw the
reason.
first one, it was the slave dolls that killed the guy. Yeah,
he made a big cameo. I don't even know if you could call it a cameo because he's in it so much.
Yeah. Look, it's horrible and definitely not nowhere near the quality of the first, as we've said. Nowhere at all. But you know what? It's Netflix, and it's just there.
It's just there.
It don't require
Right.
other than picking up the remote and just clicking some button. It requires no effort.
There's better things to watch, but sure.
If you just want something for a laugh,
morbid yeah.
if you just want something for a laugh, I mean,
we had a good time because it's us. Being in a room with different people, I don't know how that experience.
Yeah, my
would've
wife
been.
got the fuck out.
Yeah.
She got up and left, but we had
did.
fun.
We had fun.
That's what I'm saying. If you can watch it,
right?
I mean, like I said, man, from the very first frame, we were laughing our ass off, man.
Well,
You
yeah,
know?
this shit. If there was more of this shit, I would love it even more. All those stories should have been told like this. Like, just have your cheap ass Spirit Halloween store special effects, and I'm good.
Yeah,
Let's leave it at that.
Exactly. So there you go. People,
There you go. Yes.
I wish.
No.
And I wish this could have been better.
I want it to be better. I mean, you look at something like Halloween, where that's another movie. Like for me, I was like, this movie had everything going against it.
Yeah.
We already had 2 other films with Jamie Lee Curtis that were bad.
Yeah.
And that one coming out, you're like, finally, somebody respects the property enough, put enough care into it to make it enjoyable to watch.
Yeah.
And this, I was hoping for the same.
Yeah, I don't know, man. Cause
We'll leave it at that.
We'll leave it at because it's a fuck you to the legacy of the first one, and it's some bullshit outside of that. But it's
a fuck you to me.
It's a fuck you
to everyone.
But you know what? This is the first time I've said this. It's a fun fuck you. Fuck yous usually make me mad, but there's a special case where you have something that was so good before this.
Yeah.
When I say so good, it's so good because you don't see anything like that every day. But this just totally.
You made it fun, so I'll give you more credit than the movie.
Put the fun in there. All right.